Hello dear friends, welcome to my educative channel today, and kindly subscribe to the channel and share this video. I know most of us have been hearing about GDP and debt to GDP ratio. Let's take some time today to know what these macroeconomic indicators represent and what they mean for a country's economy. So GDP is one of the key macroeconomic indicators used to determine the strength of a country's economy. It measures the total value of goods and services of a country, or a country's total economic output for the year. That's GDP. Simply put, that's GDP. So what really contributes to GDP? What are the components of GDP? There are four key components of GDP. Let's quickly look at these four components and how and what role they play in GDP. The first component we can talk about is personal consumption expenditure. Personal consumption expenditure. The second one is investment. It may be fixed investment, business investment. The third one is net exports. Then government expenditure. These are the four components of GDP. The four key components of GDP. Now, what is debt to GDP ratio? We hear this from the government officials all the time that debt to GDP ratio is this and that. What really does it mean, and why is it important when talking about the country and the economy? So debt to GDP ratio simply means comparing a country's public debt to its gross domestic product. This tells you how a country's economy is doing, and this allows investors to make informed decisions whether to invest in the country or not. So the higher the debt to GDP ratio, it becomes extremely difficult for a country to pay back its loan or its debt, and it could cause financial panic in the domestic both in the domestic and international markets. So we're looking at Ghana's current debt to GDP ratio. Your guess is as good as mine. Ghana's current debt to GDP ratio is 84.87%. This simply means the country is in serious financial stress and needs to be rescued as soon as possible. But a high debt to GDP ratio can make it very difficult for a nation to access the capital market, because the one lending the money fear it won't be repaid. So it's difficult for a country to access access funds from the capital market. It's either the interest rate on the loan is very high in order to make room for risk compensation, or the country is denied access to any loan facility entirely. That's what we face as a country now. So let's assume your monthly salary is 1,000 Ghana cedis and you have an outstanding loan of 800 cedis to pay. How are you going to take care of yourself and family? It's definitely going to be very difficult for you. It will be very difficult for you to take care of yourself and your family. You either default in paying the loan or you borrow more to survive. But if you are not credit worthy, nobody will borrow any money to you anymore. So this is what we are facing as a country. So speaking at a town hall meeting recently in the voter reading, the finance minister disclosed that Ghana is not being allowed onto the international market to borrow more. Yes, because our debt to GDP ratio is too high. It's too high. And so lenders are scared that we may not be able to repay the loans. This means government must find ways to raise revenue domestically to carry out developmental projects. But I'm not sure e-levy is the answer. How about government reversing its decision to abolish road tolls? Just reverse that decision. Go back to the road tolls and collect them. Go back to the toll booth and collect the road tolls for us to carry out developmental projects. Government must also cut down expenditure. Okay, government must cut down expenditure to make room for to make some space. There are many companies who are working in Ghana here, making profits, but not paying taxes. Is the government saying they are not aware of this? Is GRA not aware of these companies? Government can do something about this. Government must find innovative ways of raising revenue rather than introducing a tax policy that will end up burdening the poor. So government must find ways to raise revenue, but not through the e-levy. Not through the e-levy. Thank you so much for watching, and do well to watch my my next video as well. We'll learn more in the next video. I'll be talking more about the economy and issues that is affecting living conditions of the Ghanaian. Thank you so much for watching, and watch out for the next video. Thank you so much.